Falcon used to call him Puff. They were fond of him, but they got very tired of hearing all about theft or toe. Falcon used to call him Puff. Theft or toe. Theft or toe. Engines come, engines go, Grandpuff can't come because he was tired. Dysfunction. You little shit, Duke would say. Whatever are you engines coming to? Photographs of children.
Why don't you have a seat right over here for me?
Well, you'd better mind, unless you want to end up like Smudger. Ooh, Grandpuff. Ooh. 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 Smudger, said Duke, was Smudger. You don't fuck.
Why don't you have a seat right over here for me?
Well, you'd better mind, unless you want to end up like him, but they got... Engines come, engines go, Peaseman chant. Engines come, engines go, Grandpuff can't come because he was tired. Dysfunction. You little shit, Duke would say. Whatever are you engines coming to? Photographs of children.
Why don't you have a seat right over here for me?
Well, you'd better mind, unless you want to end up like Smudger. Ooh, Grandpuff. Ooh. 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 Smudger, said Duke, was Smudger. You don't fucking say. He rode joints and off. He rode joints and he rode often came off the rails. Often came off. I warned him to not overdo the station joke, but Smudger just laughed. Until one day, manager said he was going to make him useful at last, but Smudger just laughed. Why? What did he do? He turned him into... Why? What did he do? He turned him into General... Why? He's still there behind our shed. He'll never move again. The next day came. Listen, warned Duke, the mountain road is difficult. I'll lead. No, replied Falcon, I'll lead. How can I learn the route with you lumbering ahead and blocking the view? Suit yourself, said Duke, but never mind the view. Look at the track. The engines set off. Look at the track, puffed Duke. Never mind the view. Fusspot, fusspot, replied Falcon. Fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy. The engine's speed grew slower and slower. Don't dawdle, urged Falcon. No hurry, puffed Duke. Soon they approached a tunnel. Falcon didn't like the tunnel. It was curved and he couldn't see. I want to get out, he sighed. One moment, everything seemed safe, then suddenly... Falcon was derailed and hung dangerously over the edge. Duke bravely held. I can't hold you if you shake. Duke's driver and fireman worked quickly to make the two engines safe again. Then came more trouble. Water! Cried Duke's fireman. Duke needs water, quickly! Luckily, there was a workman's cottage nearby. Soon everyone was passing jugs, buckets, kettles and saucepans filled with water until Duke's thirst was quenched. All the while, Duke was building more. Luckily, there was a workman's cottage nearby. Soon everyone was passing jugs, buckets, kettles and saucepans filled with water until Duke's thirst was quenched. All the while, Duke was building more strength. At last, with everyone's help, he was able to pull Falcon back onto the rails. Then, they started off once more. There was a workman's cottage.
Ready for the rally. And wash behind your buffers, she called as she drove away. Madge still had lots to do. But now Madge was late. She had to hurry. She drove faster and faster. The mountain roads were very dirty. This dirt will take a long time to get off, thought Madge. I must make sure I'm back in plenty of time. I have to be washed and polished too. Ready for... But when Madge arrived at the quarry, Skarloey was very dirty. Goodness, said Madge, you're a real mucky buffers. We're going to have to work very hard to make sure you're extra clean for the engine rally. Soon Skarloey was covered in bubbles. Madge waited. She wanted to make sure he would be extra shiny. Scrub from the top of his funnel all the way down to his footplate, Madge told the engineer. It took a long time, but at last Skarloey was clean. Now you'll look grand at the engine rally. And one more thing, she called. Wash behind your buffers. Now, Madge really was late. Madge raced to the village. She drove down more dirt tracks. Oh no, Madge moaned. I hope I can still get clean in time. Rheneas and Skarloey were waiting in the village square. Their paintwork gleamed, their domes glistened in the sun. You look grand, said the thin controller. He was very proud of his little engines. Then Madge arrived. She was filthy. The thin controller was surprised. Oh dear, he said. You're very dirty. Don't worry, revved Madge. I'll go and get washed and wiped right now. But mud had clogged up Madge's exhaust pipe. Suddenly, she backfired. The mud sprayed all over Rheneas and Skarloey. Oh no, cried Madge. Then Madge saw the brass band. Madge was worried. How am I going to get you clean in time? I'm the dirtiest of all, she cried. We could help get you clean, puffed Skarloey. But you're dirty too, Madge moaned. The band is waiting for you, chuffed Rheneas. Madge gasped. She knew she had to be extra clean and shiny to pull the brass band. It was time for her to get clean. Make sure you clean her wheel arches, puffed Rheneas. And wash her windscreen, chuffed Skarloey. Soon Madge was sparkling and clean. Thank you, she said. Now you have to get clean too. Madge was about to tell the engines how to get extra clean and extra shiny. Then she saw what the engineers found the number and nameplates. They washed the whistles and buffed the boiler bands.
Sam duly waited at the bottom of the slope for the loaded trucks. He never bumped trucks unless they misbehaved, but the loaded trucks couldn't see him properly. They thought he was a handle. The chance for trickery had come. Faster! Faster, they yelled. No, no, wailed the empty trucks. It's Peter Sam. But it was no use. Hurrah, hurrah, roared the trucks. Peter Sam shut his eyes. Sam duly waited at the bottom. Hurrah, roared the trucks. Peter Sam shut his eyes. Beep, beep, wailed Peter Sam. Hurrah, roared the trucks. Rusty was working nearby and came to help clear up the mess. Bust my buffers, exclaimed Rusty. Never mind, Peter Sam, we'll get you out. Peter Sam felt battered. His funnel was cracked and his boiler dented. Thank you, Rusty, he sighed and limped slowly home.
The little engines were busy clearing their railroad of leaves and broken branches. Peter, Sam, and Rusty often worked together. One day, Rusty helped Peter Sam to a water tower. Peter Sam felt much better after his long drink, but the freight cars were bored. Let's break away. Their loads were heavy and the couplings old. One snapped. Faster, faster, shouted the freight cars. A sign read, Faster, faster, shouted the freight cars. A sign read, slow, steep bends and ravine ahead, but the silly cars never saw it. Then it was too late. It was too late. Peter Sam arrived at the scene of the disaster. His driver sighed. This was our fault. We didn't secure them properly. We'll have to get help to pull them out. Sir Topham Hatt will be very annoyed. And Sam arrived at the scene. He was. You will work in the yards until I can trust you again. Duncan was delighted with Peter Sam's dilemma. Fancy not securing your freight cars on a hill. They'll come back to spook you and your special funnel. Woo! And who's to say you're not afraid of ghosts? Snapped Rusty. Ghosts? Things that go bump in the night? Rubbish! Well, I'll tell you a story that will make your funnel quiver, Rusty said. A long time ago, a little engine was returning home. It was a misty, moonlit night. Suddenly, the engine lost control and plunged over the side into the swamps below. Swamps below. He was never found again, but many will tell you that when the moon is full, they have seen the little engine tell you that when, but he never reaches the other side. What do you think of that, Duncan? Rubbish, replied Duncan. Never mind him, Peter Sam. He'd be frightened if he really saw a ghost. This gave Peter Sam's driver an idea. Let's play a trick on Duncan. The next day, he spoke to Duncan's driver and fireman, who agreed. We'll do it tonight. Duncan had to take coal cars to the slate mines and then bring cars back. Duncan's driver decided as part of the plan to cross the old iron bridge. Haunted bridge. Rubbish, snorted Duncan. It's as tame as a pet rabbit. But all the same, he kept thinking about Rusty's story. When dusk fell, he was keen to leave. If we don't go now, Skarloey will take my favorite place in the sheds. We have to collect our cars first, his driver replied. He could see their plan was working because Duncan was nervous. When night fell, they set off. The mists were rising around the old iron bridge. Duncan whistled, and the sound echoed everywhere. Then, ahead, he saw flickering lights. Ahead, he saw flickering lights. His driver knew they were only insects that shine brightly at night, but to Duncan they looked like an engine. Make sure that next his driver secretly threw a rock from the cab. Make sure that he. When Duncan reached the safety of his secretly threw a rock from the cab. Make sure that he was still there. When Duncan reached the safety of his shed, he closed his eyes tightly. When Duncan. Spooked, are you, Duncan? Laughed his driver. No, I'm asleep. And Duncan refused to open his eyes. He did, though, when he thought his driver wasn't looking, just to make sure that he was still there. Spooked.